Hello everyone and welcome to the channel. I'm Emmanuel, I'm an Airbus pilot, and welcome back to the fly-by-wire Airbus A380 and IndyBuild's latest update for Doha. In this update they have, amongst others, redone the window fronts of the terminals, which are just looking really great now. They used to be much too reflective, you couldn't see anything inside. Now they are just looking awesome in my opinion. So I'm really looking forward to do this flight with you guys today. Now, before we get into this, a quick message from today's sponsor, Say Intentions AI. If you're looking for an ATC add-on that is not just capable of doing your standard A to B flight, but also other stuff like data link, VFR, or even a cabin crew simulation, then look no further than Say Intentions. We'll be using them for both our ATC as well as our cabin crew in today's video, so if you like what you're about to see, then be sure to check them out using the link in the video description or the pinned comment below. And with that out of the way, let's get straight into today's flight. And today we're going to do something new here as well, in that we are going to fly from the first officer's seat for the first time ever since we are flying the Airbus A380 on this channel. We've only done flights from the captain's seat so far. Well, we are going to correct that today. So before we start, let's have a quick look into the flight plan and then we can get straight into it. So starting with our basics, we actually gotta find that flight plan. That's always a good start. And here it is for you guys. So let's start, as always, along our route. We are going to depart Doha along the Arabian Gulf and then across Iraq, Turkey, across the Balkans, Central Europe, until we are eventually crossing into the United Kingdom. The significant weather chart is fairly clear on the first flight, or on the first half of the flight, and likewise fairly clear on the second half of the flight. The weather today, well, Doha looks awesome, 36 degrees, clear skies, and our destination Heathrow has a couple of gusts in there. Let's see, we are scheduled to arrive at 1100 UTC, so looking into the weather forecast, we are looking at that general weather over here, so it should be good conditions. Likewise, looking at our destination alternate Manchester, the weather is pretty good over there in the forecast as well. So with all of that in mind, let's have a look at the flight plan itself. We are flying on the Alpha 7 Alpha Papa Charlie, which is an A380-800 with the Rolls-Royce Trent engines. An on-time departure is going to result in an, well, more than on-time arrival, over an hour ahead of schedule, but this is indeed the real-world schedule, so they just planned that much of a delay. Now, we have around 15 tons of margin to the maximum landing weight. Takeoff weight is not critical on such a short flight. Flight level 360 initially and then flight level 380 later on. And let's see, the step climb is about 2 hours 50 into the flight, so around about in the middle of the flight today. Now, let's go ahead and have a look into the fuel section. So, an additional 1,000 kilos of zero fuel weight costs us around 200 kilos more. On flights like these, we do want to give ourselves a little bit of margin, but look at how cheap the fuel is. Discretionary fuel just costs us $94 per ton extra, so that's really, really cheap. So with that in mind, and having seen our plan, we can make a decision on the fuel quantity. Basically 93 tons is the minimum, and since we are flying to Heathrow where you can always expect maybe 15 or 20 minutes of delay, let's take those 4,000 kilos extra here, so let's make it 97 tons of fuel for today's flight. And with that decided, we can get straight back into our aircraft. So let's start powering it up. The batteries, let's see up here. So those got to be above 25.5, and that's looking very good. Then for our safety inspection, the thrust levers are in idle, engine master levers are off, landing gear lever down, wipers are off, batteries are checked, so then we can turn them on, all 4 of them. External power, 2, 3, 1, and 4, and with that our aircraft is coming to life. Brilliant. So let's head right down into our electronic flight bag. You can see the OIS on the right hand side is implemented as well now, which is something that I do really appreciate here. Now let's go into our fuel and payload, and of course we are just going to use our SimReef data over here, so we can basically take the payload as it is, but let's go ahead and take 1,000 kilos more in our cargo hold, just to simulate a little bit of last minute cargo. Okay,
runway
that's
awareness,
now loaded into our airplane. Now
meters.
for the fuel, 92.7 is the minimum they have here. We said we wanted 97 tons, and we can start refueling down here. Lovely. So, GSX, that's the big question. Do we want to use it, yes or no? In my opinion, no is the better answer, because 484 passengers just take a very long time to board. And ultimately, working the cockpit systems, we aren't going to see much of it anyway. So, with that in mind, we have loaded up our airplane, and both fuel and payload are done. So, let's go right up here. Unfortunately, we do not have an air conditioning unit available here, so we gotta start up the APU. So fire test is looking good, then master and starter. In the meantime, let's go up to the light panel here. Strobes auto, navs on, logo light auto, and since our refueling is complete, seatbelts, no smoking, and emergency exit lights coming on as well. Lovely. Okay, cool. So that stuff is done. Then let's head over into the OIS. Our flight number is going to be... well, let's open it up. So we are QR3, Qatari 3, from Oscar Tango Hotel Hotel to Echo Golf Lima Lima. And that's all selected. Lovely. So, flight folder. Let's find our... OFP, here it is, and then we can also head over into the terminal charts, Navigraph. So we need our departure airport, OTHH, taxi chart. Is there an A380 chart? Yes, there is. Code Foxtrot, taxi chart. Wonderful, that's what we need. And now for our standard instrument departure, we have the Lubed 1 Whiskey, so we can just find that one as well. Lubed 1 Whiskey, here it is. Okay, lovely. So that's our EFB prepared down here. Then let's head over into our aircraft's technical status. So we'll do the recall for 3 seconds. And there is nothing in here, that's all looking good. So, I have no OEBs, nothing in the tech log, and our aircraft's technical shape is absolutely fine. Beautiful, then we don't need anything else down here. Oh, but we would need some text on our table. Is that just on the FO side, or is that also on the captain's side? No, look at this, on the captain's side it's working. It's just on the FO side. Okay. Well, I'm just gonna close this one then. So that we don't have to see the bug for the entire time. Alright, so that stuff is done. Then let's find our weather. And something that I really like is that up here on the iPad we always get the current in-sim weather. Of course, I'm not recording this at 0300 UTC because, well, that would be 5 o'clock AM my time. But it's pretty nice to have this, because our next step is to calculate our preliminary takeoff performance, and for this we got to use the SimRief calculator, which however is based on the current real-world weather. So you can see slightly different weather conditions in here. Now first things first, runway 34 left is the departure runway, we have the full length available, and now for the takeoff weight. We took basically 6 tons more, so let's calculate 456 tons. Okay, now for the weather, we've got wind 310 at 15. The temperature in the sim at the moment is 34, but 36 is actually quite good, because it will definitely get warmer since the sun has just risen and our QNH is 90908. Okay, calculate. And we can see that we get a flaps 1 takeoff at 66 degrees, 43, 59, 63, with a stop margin of 349 meters. And that looks very good to me, so I'm happy with that. Performance limited takeoff weight 560 tons, so that's our max takeoff weight, so absolutely happy with this. Alright, lovely. So with that out of the way, we can check our operating quantities. So the oxygen is looking good, the hydraulics are looking good. Fuel, 97 tons are already on board. Lovely. And now let's go over to the engines, turn on the FADEC. And that's looking very good as well. The oil quantity is actually pretty full. Okay, lovely. So that stuff's done. The APU is operating, so let's get the APU bleed on. And here we go. Okay, very good. Flaps are up, spoilers retracted, that's all looking wonderful. Then we can release our parking brake here momentarily and check the alternate brakes, which are looking good. And the parking brake is set again. Last but not least, do we need any of those lights? The answer is no, we don't. So let's go ahead and turn them all off. Well, I suppose we could use the intake light, could we? Let's see how bright the overhead panel actually is without it. No, it's fine. Okay, perfect. Alright, and with that the preliminary pre-flight procedure is complete, so let's go into the pre-flight procedure. Now there isn't all that much to do up here anymore. I'm not gonna test the batteries here. Refueling is complete, so we can turn on the pumps. That's looking good. Fire test is completed. Up here white lights are okay. Over here everything's set. PA is selected. Wonderful. Now let's get up to the main panel. QNH was 90907. Or 90908 actually. That's looking good. And here, come on, it's the 5th of July 2025. Auto brake is disarmed, anti-skid is on, that's all looking good. You can do your radios yourself over there, I trust you to be able to do that. Over here everything's set. And for our radios, let's have a look at the charts. So, we still need the general airport chart. I only pinned the taxi chart. Right, here it is. Now, let's see, where are the frequencies? Here they are. Departure ATIS 126.85. And then we do need the clearance on 120875. Okay, and last but not least, we do need a ground frequency. I have no idea which one it is. Delivery will tell us, so happy with that. Alright, cool. So that's our radio set, then let's go into the FMS. I would really love to be able to get our EFB down here somehow, so that we could actually see our flight plan at the same time while we're setting it up. But, okay, then we have to use the 2D display. Alright, so A380-800, Trent 972 engines, and everything is up to date. Lovely. And let's go forward to the flight plan initialization, to the company flight plan request, which might take a little while until it has actually arrived. In the meantime, let's see, Qatari 22 Yankee, Doha to Heathrow, cost NX50, and they say level 320 in here, but I'll set it to 360 straight away, just to be on the safe side here. Okay, flight plan received and insert. So 22 Yankee, Doha, Heathrow, Manchester. We are going to correct this. Flight level 360. So cruise temperature, let's see, minus 39. And the tropopause, 43,000. Well, it's actually 59,000. That's looking good. Alright, headwind 19 knots on average. That's looking good. RS is aligned on the GPS position. Then departing runway 34 left on the Lubet 1 Whiskey departure. Tempe and insert. And arrival in Heathrow. I think for the time being they planned 27 left. Okay, and that's of course going to be with an ILS approach. Arrival is the Logan 2 Hotel. And via Lambourne. Okay, Tempe and insert. Then let's go onto the fix info page, and we're departing OTHH 34 left. and the runway track is 336, so I'm going to enter that as radial down here. And we could enter something like a 25-mile ring for MSA awareness, but it's actually not Airbus SOP to do that. Today I'm going to do it, but as mentioned, it's not SOP, so don't copy me there and say you've seen it from your favorite streamer. Okay, so zero fuel weight is 357.4. Zero fuel CG is unknown for the time being. Block fuel 97. Taxi fuel 0.8. Now, let's see about the alternate and the reserves. So alternate 6.7. And final is 5.0. Okay, that's looking good. So on to the takeoff performance. And we had a flap 1 takeoff at 66 degrees. And the speeds, let's just bring them up again. 143, 159, 163. So 143, 159, and 163. Okay, packs on, anti-ice off, noise abatement procedure 1, engine out acceleration 1500, transition 13,000. That's all correct, so the only thing that's left for us to do is to cross-check our SID. So let's see. We are proceeding on the runway track to Ovasa. And that one's above 2500. Then we got Paris at 4000. Coben, Elnac. Then we continue towards Patom above level 160 by ATC only. We'll leave it in here for now. Then we have Meisel. And after that, Lubet above level 180. Transition 13,000 is correct. Remain at tower frequency after departure and report passing 1,000. Expect to be transferred to Doha approach west. And on initial contact, include designated SID. Okay, will do. Well, and with that, since secondary flight plans aren't supported in the fly-by-wire A380, we are done with our setup down here. Lovely. So let's go up to the FCU. QNH 998, airport, traffic, and VORs. Initial 4,000. We'll set plus 100 until ATC clearance is received. And with that, everything is set down here. Okay, so that looks pretty good. With that, our setup is basically completed. So what's left for us to do? Oxygen test, which is not simulated, and that's it. So then we can go straight into the departure briefing, which is going to be for the pilot monitoring. So in today's case, for the captain. And while we're doing that, let's just go down here and start loading up our airport map. Okay, so we are going to depart from Doha, runway 34 left, Lumen Whiskey departure, initial 4,000, MSA 2,300, and we've got nothing special or non-standard. Extra fuel and time, we have about 20 minutes in the form of 5,000 kilos. Right, then we can come back over here. Now, we don't have any hotspots. It's a fairly easy taxi out. Pushback, taxi, taxi, taxi. 3-4 left for our departure. Stop margin about 350 meters plus the TUS effect, so effectively around 500 meters today. And in case of an engine failure, we have an EOS at straight at 25 miles, pick up a hold over there, and then we can decide if we want to come back or if we want to divert or whatever we want to do. Basically, Doha is the best option in the area with 4 kilometers and more of runway available. We'll be over the maximum landing weight though, so we got to do the overweight landing procedure if time permits. If absolutely no time permits and if things are getting critical, aka if we would run the risk of losing aircraft control is something, for example, due to an uncontrolled fire, only then we can do a visual traffic pattern, come back, land on 3-4 left or 3-4 right, both runways are available. So we'll take whatever ATC assigns to us. We don't have a secondary flight plan fitted to this aircraft, so we do not have that resource available. So if things need to go quick, it's really just a visual pattern. If we do have time available, then we can just take it into the hold, climb at 3,000 feet, and then decide on the further course of action. Okay. Do you have any threats for today's departure? Because I have nothing abnormal and nothing special. And since that is a no, let's do the cockpit preparation checklist. So, fuel quantity. Actually, I think we skipped something there, didn't we? Okay, so gear pins and covers removed. Fuel quantity. 97,000 kilograms balanced, barrel reference, QNH 9998. Cockpit preparation checklist complete. Okay, lovely. So everything's done down here. Let's say hello to our passengers, and that's of course for the captain to do. Assalamu alaikum, ladies and gentlemen, from the flight deck. This is your captain speaking. My name is Emmanuel. In the name of Qatar Airways, welcome aboard our flagship Airbus A380 on a flight to London Heathrow. We have just finished our boarding and loading. We are now completing the last paperwork, and then we'll start our engines in the next couple of minutes. We would like to thank you very much for being on board today. We do expect a smooth flight at an altitude of initially 36, later 38,000 feet, and an on-time arrival. Thank you very much for being on board. Sit back, relax, and enjoy the flight with us. And if there is anything we can do for you to make it more enjoyable, please don't hesitate to ask any of our charming cabin crew. Thank you very much, and once again, welcome on board. Alright, so the passengers are briefed. Then I suppose we are just gonna get straight into our load sheet. So let's see, we've got zero fuel weight of 58.3, which is a little bit heavier than planned, versus 357.4. We have sufficient fuel to carry that, so that's not going to be a problem. So 358.3, and the center of gravity, let's see, is 33.1. Alright, 97 tons of fuel is correct. With that, we are slightly heavier. Our takeoff weight is 354.5, and our calculated takeoff weight is 456. Okay, that's close enough, just a ton of difference. Okay, cool. So then we're done with everything down here, so let's go ahead and grab our IFR clearance.
Mio 1700 Zulu. Wind 320.
I think it said Romeo, did it?
Cav OK. Temperature 36. Dew point 9er. QNH 0997. Density altitude 3000 feet.
QNH 997.
Arriving and departing runways 34 right, 34 left. Transition level 140. Advise on course heading, altitude, and if flight following is requested. Read back all runway and hold short instructions. Advise on initial contact. You have information Romeo. Hamid International Airport.
Okay, information Romeo is on board, then let's call for clearance. Hamid delivery, Qatari 22 Yankee Super Information Romeo, request IFR clearance to London Heathrow.
I am working on that clearance. Stand by.
It's really too bad we don't have a scratch pad in here. That would be rather useful. But, well, we can kinda remember what they're saying. In the real world, obviously, get a piece of paper, write it down.
Qatari 22 Yankee. Information Romeo is current. Cleared to London Heathrow via the Loop 1 Whiskey departure, then as filed. Departure runway 34 left. Initial climb to 5,000. Departure on 119.7. 25 squawk 5515.
Qatari 22 Yankee Super is cleared to London Heathrow via runway 34 left, Lubem 1 Whiskey departure, initial climb 5000, departure frequency on 119.725, squawk 5515.
Qatari 22 Yankee, read back correct. Ground is on 120.22. 5 safe flight, sir.
120.225 Qatari 22 Yankee Super. What is this doing? Ah, okay. Had to press that button. I don't think you have to in the real world, by the way. But okay, we'll just leave it at that. Alright, Lupin 1 Whiskey 34 left is confirmed. Initial to 5,000 and squawk 5515 is in here. Then let's call for a pushback clearance. Hamad ground Qatari 22 Yankee Super, request pushback and startup.
The overhead bins or under the seats in front of you. If you need any assistance, feel free to contact any of our crew members. Thank you for
Qatari 22 Yankee, pushback and startup approved. Face west.
Pushback and startup approved, facing west, Qatari 22 Yankee. Okay. So, before start checklist, please. Park and brake is set. Takeoff speeds and thrust. V1 143, VR 159, D2 163, flex 66. Before start checklist complete. Ground from flight deck. So please confirm all doors and hatches are closed, ground equipment removed and the bypass pin is installed. That's all confirmed. Okay, thanks. We're clear to push facing west. Park and brake is now released. Roger, start the push facing west. Stand by for engine start. Roger. Alright, and with that, here we go. Leaving 3 minutes ahead of schedule. Wonderful. I just really gotta say, the new windows in Doha are actually looking pretty good. Previous ones barely made any of the terminal interior visible. Now it's no problem at all.
My name is Khadija, and on behalf of the entire crew, I would like to introduce our captain and our first officer, Stephanie. Joining us in the cabin today.
Alright, we're clearing the roads, so we're ready for engine start in sequence 1, 2, 3, 4.
And Syed. As we prepare for takeoff,
Okay, engine 1 and 2 start.
seatbelts are fastened. To fasten your seatbelt, insert the metal tip into the buckle until you hear a click. To release it, lift the buckle. In the unlikely event of a loss of cabin pressure, oxygen masks will drop down from the panel above you. Pull the mask towards you to start the flow of oxygen. Place it over your nose and mouth and secure it with the elastic band. Remember to secure your own mask before assisting others. For those seated near the exits, please take a moment to locate the nearest emergency exit. There are a total of 16 emergency exits on this A380 aircraft which are clearly marked. In case of an evacuation, please leave your luggage behind and proceed to the nearest exit. Additionally, life vests are located under your seats. To use them, pull the vest out, place it over your head, and pull the straps to tighten. Inflate the vest by pulling the red tabs once you are outside the aircraft. Thank you for your attention, and we wish you a pleasant flight. I will now inform the captain and the cabin.
Ouch, that's another count on the marshaller. Okay, we've got 2 good starts, starting 3 and 4. So I'm wondering where they're going to pull us to. Come on, you can just finish the pushback here. Ooh, they might have heard us. So, park brake set. Engine start is progressing nicely. Okay, ground, we have 4 good engine starts. You're clear to disconnect. Show me the pin on the left side, please. Prepare the airplane for taxi. Have a wonderful day. Bye-bye. Okay. 4 times avail. And actually we only need 1 plus F. 2 used to config 2 from the A330. Okay. So, here's the truck. Here's the marshaller, and she's holding a pin. Wonderful. So, that's our clear signal received. After start checklist, please. Anti-ice, off, pitch trim, 39.9%. After start checklist complete, flight controls. Full up, full down, neutral. Full left, full right, neutral, rudder, full left, full right, neutral. Qatari 22 Yankee Super, request taxi.
Qatari 22 Yankee. Taxi to runway 34 left via Whiskey 1. Lima 2, cross runway 34 left, then Mike 4, Mike.
Taxi runway 34 left via Whiskey 1, Lima 2, cross 34 left, Mike 4 and Mike. Qatari 34 Yankee. Okay, that's interesting. So they want us to go over here, Lima 2, crossing, and then to the other side of the holding point. Okay, we can do that. So lights on, signs off, clear left side, clear right side. Let's go. And for some reason it's messed up my controls once again, because why wouldn't it? So let's fix that real quick. It's really interesting. Every time you load a new livery, it doesn't take the appropriate controls. Come on. Throttle quadrant. All levers on one engine. Or rather, all engines on one lever. And here we go, that's looking better. Yes, I am basically too lazy to readjust my Honeycomb setup for a 4-engined aircraft. Okay, so the right side is clear, then we can pull over onto Lima 2. Dirty little shortcut. In the real world, I would absolutely ask before taking such a shortcut, but for simulation purposes, I'm totally happy to do this. Okay, so Lima 2 is over here, the runway is over here, and we have already gotten clearance to cross the runway. Strobe lights on. It's incredible, we're going 8 knots and just look at how slow it looks when you're looking to the outside. We're definitely going to expedite the runway crossing though. We don't want to occupy the runway for any longer than we absolutely have to. Okay, the right side is clear and the left side is clear. So 3-4 left, clear to cross. The stop bar is out. And there is no departing traffic. The windsock, by the way, is looking pretty good. That's even better than
approaching.
what we had calculated.
3-4 left.
Clear to cross. I really like how the A380 visualizes that on the displays. Airbus did come up with quite a good logic there. Okay, so off to the left. And there's everything clear. Okay, so let's see, we gotta rearm those spoilers. Squawk is in. Takeoff config is okay. Good. Taxi checklist, please. Flight controls are checked. Flap setting, config 1 plus F. Radar on, taxi checklist complete. Very good. So let's see if we get a handoff or if we have to ask for one.
Qatari 22 Yankee, contact tower on 118.025, safe flight.
118.025, Qatari 22 Yankee. Tower Qatari 22 Yankee ready for departure.
Qatari 22 Yankee Super, Hamad Tower, runway 34 left, winds 315 at 17, cleared for takeoff.
Runway 34 left, clear for takeoff, Qatari 22 Yankee Super. Cabin crew, prepare for departure. Okay. Then let's go. Lineup checklist, please. Clear on the approach.
Approaching. 3-4 left.
So, takeoff runway. 3-4 left for length. Packs 1 and 2 on. Lineup checklist complete. Okay, ready? Takeoff.
On runway. 3-4 left.
Main flag 66, SRS, runway, auto thrust blue. Thrust set. Knots, checked.
D1.
Rotate. Positive climb. Gear up. Enough. Checked. through quite an inversion here. Look at how the speed has just increased. Qatari 22 Yankee passing 1000. Just climb. Alt magenta, auto thrust. Departure Qatari 22 Yankee Super passing 1500.
Qatari 22 Yankee Super, Doha departure, radar contact, climb via the SIG to flight level 180.
Climb via the SIG, flight level 180, Qatari 22 Yankee Super. Okay, 18,000 is set, and we remain on 4,000 projectile. Autopilot 2. Now here's something to make it interesting. Technically speaking, we need to reduce our rate of climb as we're approaching an altitude restriction. But that of course means that we gotta change our FCU altitude to the actual altitude where we gotta level off. So you gotta remember that we're clear to level 180 now, and we got 1000 again. So we're no longer in climb thrust, we don't need that throttle meter any longer. Let's bring up the SID chart over here. So, power is 4000, that's our next restriction. In 4 nautical miles. That looks fairly good. Okay. So, acceleration flow pattern, flaps up, spoilers retracted, landing gear up, and tracks on. So far, so good. Hold start. And we're passing paddles right now. Halt. So, thrust on climb, alt 18,000 blue. What a huge airplane. Okay, so in the real world this would definitely be the moment where you get all those sunshades down already. Might have to open one of them again in cruise, but for the time being, let's get all of those down. I mean, yeah, this is absolutely what a flight deck looks like in cruise. Not exactly the most, let's say, flight summer friendly though, because you can't see any of the lovely scenery outside that we worked so hard to actually achieve in our simulations, but I kinda like it. Especially when you look at it somewhere like this. Perhaps put the seat a little bit further to the back as well. Not that it would be simulated, but like this. You know, this would be your typical view in flight. I kind of like it that way. We can also get our flight plan up over here so that we can actually do some proper cross-tracking. And yeah, that's what it would look like for the next 6.5 hours. Obviously we're going to cut this short a little bit once we're up there, but we can work ahead a bit already. So let's just go down here, flight plan, and we want step altitudes. So Bravo Uniform Kilo, we want flight level 380. Step above max level, we can kind of disregard that. Obviously we wouldn't in the real world, but since we know the fly-by-wire doesn't calculate the optimum and the maximum absolutely precisely for the time being, we can kind of deal with it. Apart from that, there isn't all that much we got to do in here. We didn't tune any nav aids. The performance is set anyway. Unfortunately, CPDLC is not simulated in here. So let's do the most important piece of the job of any Airbus pilot. That's to get the table out. What else, huh? Okay. Now look at our rate of climb, just 1,600 feet a minute here. Well, TAT plus 29. Yes, it is that warm. Gotta be ISA plus 15, ISA plus 20 or so, and that's obviously significantly degrading our aircraft performance. Awesome 10,000, lights off, science auto, and the EFIS is set. Alright then my friends, from here on I'd say sit back, relax and enjoy the views outside, and then I see you all on the approach to London.
maintaining flight level 160.
Qatari 22 Yankee Super, Heathrow radar identified. Good afternoon. Expect the ILS runway 27 right approach into Heathrow.
Expecting the ILS runway 27 right approach into Heathrow. Qatari 22 Yankee Super.
Alright, you've heard the controller. It's gonna be the ILS 22 right into Heathrow. Now, let's just fill out our point of view over here, because the sim sometimes likes to bring you back to the left seat after using one of those preset views. And here we are. So, ILS 27 right, and that's surprisingly enough the one that we had already prepared. So we're following the level 2 hotel arrival, and that's going to be Weasel at 250 knots, and then land on 7,000 feet, 220 knots. The seatbelt signs have already been turned on, and I'd say for everything else, I am going to catch you on the arrival briefing. So let's go ahead and start with a couple of basics here. And as always, the pilot monitoring is going to start. So, ILS approach, runway 27 right, minimum is 2,300. We are following the local 2 hotel, but eventually, latest after Lambo, it's going to be radar vectors onto the final approach. Minimum 278, and extra fuel and time, as you can see, quite a bit, 22.8 is on board at the moment, and that gives us 10.8 tons extra, or basically 14 minutes. Now, it's your turn. Thank you. We will use the flight rector and config full for the ILS approach on the runway 27 right. Vacate the runway to the left-hand side, and we will be using maximum reverse autobrake BTV to vacate at Alpha 10 Echo. Nothing special, nothing non-standard, and that's really all there is to it. In terms of the weather, we are looking very good. It's broken clouds and 2500, 20 degrees, 1016, winds from the left at 13 knots. And, well, look at that. Quite happy that we're not in Qatar anymore, 41 degrees. No, I very much prefer the 20 degrees over here at Heathrow. It could be 22, 23, but please no less than 20. Alright. But that's of course all just, well, let's call it beating about the bush, because obviously the only thing that really matters for us from an aviation standpoint is the winds, the visibility, and the cloud ceiling. And obviously the QNH, even though we're going to get that from ATC.
Qatari 22 Yankee, descend altitude 4,000, turn right heading 285 vectors for the ILS runway 27 right approach.
Descending to 4,000, turning right heading 285 for vectors to the ILS runway 27 right approach. Qatari 22 Yankee.
Okay, so heading flat level 40 blue, set QNH. And that's 1016. That's checked, passing 10,700 now. We are no longer on the arrival. That means we don't have to abide that 250 knot restriction that we would otherwise have had beyond Weasel. That makes our life quite a bit easier. And then we can just give ourselves a direct to the final approach fix down here. Let's say direct to the 10 point. Heading. Right, we're passing 10,000, and that means lights on, signs on, this, set. Terrain is not going to be an issue here, so let's go to the weather radar on both sides. And nothing hard tuned on the nav aids. And everything's set over here. Alright. Lovely.
I will now check the throttle.
So, approach checklist please.
Captain, cabin's ready.
Battle reference. QNH 101.
Qatari 22 Yankee Super. Proceed direct Charlie Foxtrot 27 Romeo. Descend altitude 3000 until established on the localizer, cleared for the ILS runway 27 right approach.
Direct Charlie Foxtrot 27. Romeo, descend to 3000 until established on the localizer. Cleared for the ILS runway 27 right approach. Qatari 22 Yankee.
Alright, what they call Charlie Foxtrot 27 Romeo is actually Centerfix 27 right, and that's 10 miles out. So, since our nav database in here comes from Lido and not from Jefferson, which is what Say Intentions is using, we are basically flying direct to the India Romeo 10 point. That's 10 miles final. There's no traffic anywhere nearby, so obviously we could expect to see something like this. Okay, and then I suggest we are just going to restart the checklist here. So bow ref, QNH 1016, minimum Barrow 278, auto brake, BTV, approach checklist complete. Now I like it when things are easy. I wish that would be the case more often. First idle descent. If we're perfectly on the path anyway, might as well just do that. Okay, entering the clouds here. Temperature is 19 degrees, that means we don't need anti-ice. Wonderful. Things are going very, very well on this approach. That's about as straightforward as it gets. Now, just as information for you guys, I did reduce the amount of traffic we had in our sim for the flight because, well, it was just a little bit too much and it basically overloaded our simulator's capacity in that we exceeded the maximum number of objects. Obviously that's something that we can't really accept because that's going to kill our sounds, and for this reason I did go ahead and remove those a lot of those AI aircraft, which is why it looks like there's nobody around. Looks like with all the performance that 2024 can do nowadays, I mean, if I just load a flight at Heathrow with all those aircraft, I still get a decent frame rate, but unfortunately we're hitting other limits of the simulator now, which I really, really hope Asobo is eventually going to improve on. But that's just mentioning something in the background there. To go. Speed vertical speed. Activate approach phase and confirm. So let's do the typical 160 knots until 40 ME that you would typically get in Heathrow. We're clear for the approach. Capture fuel, autopilot 1 and 2, glass level, glass up blue. Just impressive how easy it is to fly these aircraft. I mean, we're operating like, what, 380 tons right now? And still the plane just has no problem whatsoever. Alright, speed's coming back nicely. 30 knots of headwind, making it really easy. 12 miles out, flaps 1. Speed checked. Flaps 1. Wow. We came out of the clouds exactly at the right point.
Qatari 22 Yankee, Contact Heathrow Tower
Oh, yes,
on
you bet we did.
124.48.
Switching to Heathrow Tower on 124.48. Qatari 22 Yankee.
Black Star. Okay, so we know what the go-around looks like. Let's actually prepare the parking channels.
Heathrow Tower, Qatari 22 Yankee. Good afternoon. We're established on the ILS approach for runway 27 right.
Qatari 22 Yankee Super, Heathrow Tower, roger, continue approach.
Last up start, flaps 2. Speed checked, flaps 2. And then speed 160. Secure down, flaps 3. Okay, go around altitude 3000 set. I will take ATC from now on.
2,500.
Checked.
Alright, Emmanuel, you've got the ATC from here?
Wonderful.
Qatari 22 Yankee Super, wind 225 at 11, runway 27 right, clear to land.
Runway 27 right, clear to land. Qatari 22 Yankee Super.
Runway 27 right, clear to land. Qatari 22 Yankee.
Okay. Manual flight. Cat 1. The field is in sight. A couple of rain showers ahead, but nothing significant. They don't even pop up on the weather radar. Right, flaps full. Speed check, flaps full. Landing checklist, ECAM memo, landing no blue. Landing checklist complete. So, do we actually have to click that down here? Look at that, not looking at the displays for a second and the plane starts going into a dive. Alright, so landing checklist is complete. So we're about to reach 40 ME. Speed is managed. So the wind is shifting slightly to the left. So we'll be parking down there in the south today, 405. That means we'll have a little bit of taxi ahead. Checked.
1,000.
Man, it's turbulent today. Look at how the airplane just goes up and down all the time.
Approaching 27 right.
Checked. Okay, so the aim is to make it smooth, but on the markers. Let's see if we can do that. Land.
300.
Man, the parking lot is full today. feel that wind, you really do. "30, 20, 10, 5, touchdown." So, spoilers, reverse green, decel. Knots. Manual brakes.
Auto brake.
Switching to ground on 121.905, Qatari 22 Yankee.
Heathrow ground, Qatari 22 Yankee Super vacating runway 27 right, request taxi to gate 405.
Qatari 22 Yankee, Heathrow ground, taxi to parking via Alpha 10, Echo Echo Bravo. Good day.
Taxi to parking via Alpha 10, Echo Echo Bravo, Qatari 22 Yankee.
Qatari 22 Yankee, taxi to Terminal 4, stand 405 via Alpha 10, Echo Echo Alpha, November 5, Whiskey, cross runway 27 left, then Sierra 5, Whiskey Whiskey. Good day.
Terminal 4, stand 405 via Alpha 10 Echo, Echo, Alpha, November 5 Whiskey, cross 27 left, then Sierra 5 Whiskey, Whiskey, Qatari 22 Yankee.
Alright, so we continue via Echo for the time being. That's the taxiway right ahead of us. And here we are. So that was a typical case of too many sim objects, because we did not get any radio altimeter call-outs just before touchdown. That's of course exactly what's not supposed to happen, but that is what you get when you have AI traffic. It's just too many objects in the sim. Okay, so the airplane's cleaned up. And let's go ahead and find our route. So we're in Echo. Then we are going to continue via November 5 Whiskey, cross 27 left, Sierra 5 Whiskey. Okay, so Echo, Alpha, November 5 Whiskey, Sierra 5 Whiskey, down here to the gate. That looks doable. Ooh, and that looks like FS 2004. Textures aren't loading for some reason. Yeah, I guess the entire sim is a little bit overloaded here in Heathrow with the A380. Here we go. Here's our textures. That looks better. Okay, we're clear on the right side, and we're clear on the left side. Looks like it starts raining. Look at the windshield, but that's nothing significant. Don't need any wipers here. Okay, so left onto Alpha. It's just amazing. Look at the taxiway and look at how large this airplane is. Just an incredible piece of engineering. Qatari 22 Yankee, are we clear to cross runway 27 left?
Qatari 22 Yankee, cross runway 27 left approved.
Okay, so November 5 Whiskey is gonna be over here to the right. So back down to 10 knots. Here we are. I really think this is my very first time parking somewhere in the south here in Heathrow. Right, clear the cross, clear on the approach. Strobe lights on.
Approaching 09 right.
Clear to cross. Okay, let's see. Terminal 405. No follow me needed. Handling by Donata.
Approaching 27 left.
Alright, straight out, parking over there. So we are right over here, straight ahead, and then 405 will be slightly to the right. So strobe lights off, starting APU. So that's our gate. If you don't hear me talking for a little bit while we're taxiing here, that's because I'm kind of trying to focus on keeping the airplane on taxiway, because this all looks very, very tight, especially over here to the left. I mean, look at this. There really isn't much space here, so taxiing in the real world is not time for talking. Okay, 405, lights off please. Okay, the guidance is on, A380 is on there. Come on airplane, keep going straight. This guidance seems a little sensitive. Stop. Okay, wonderful. APU bleed on, park and brake set, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, which takes a second attempt. That's fine. Cabin crew, all doors to park. Okay, engines running down. Beacon is off. Doors are disarmed. And now. We can do the parking checklist, please. So, park and brake our trucks. Brake set. Wing light. Off. Parking checklist complete. Alrighty, so GSX, request deboarding please. Then let's turn off the ADRs 1, 2 and 3. We can do a little bit of tidying up in our flight deck. Ground power unit doesn't seem available at the moment. GPU. Here we go. Alright, and you can open the cargo doors already. And here we go. Okay, lovely. So, with that, welcome to London Heathrow. I do hope you all enjoyed the flight as much as I did. I surely had a blast at this one. It was, again, very interesting landing an A380 without any radio altimeter. I'm definitely not too eager on doing that again anytime soon. But at least we didn't break the aircraft. I do hope you all enjoyed this one. I hope you enjoyed today's ATC as well. If you did, be sure to check out Say Intentions AI using the link in the video description or the pinned comment below. In the meantime though, thank you very much for watching. If you liked the video, be sure to leave a like on YouTube as well, as it does really help out the channel, and subscribe if you're up for more and don't want to miss any new videos. If you really love what I'm doing on this channel, I would appreciate a small donation through the Buy Me a Coffee link in the video description below. But in the meantime, I'm really looking forward to see you all again on the next one.